Here is a great, thoughtful op-ed on President Reagan and President Trump. This is from the always elegiac Francis Wilkinson over at Bloomberg View. This is a fabulous read. I'll put it out on Twitter. On makers and President Reagan's takers. If you fear that the wild horde is coming for the Treasury any hour now, Ryan's proposals, like Trump's taxpayer-first budget, would get the job done. Republicans are working to safeguard wealth from the tyranny of the Democratic masses, to hold off the takers long enough to enable the makers to gather and secure their just deserts. Just a little bit of an exceptionally thoughtful essay this morning. Greg Valliere gives us wisdom on both takers and makers. Where's the battle right now, Greg Valliere? In Washington, who has the high ground, the takers or the makers?
Well, I might say, Tom, good morning, that the high ground may be among the pragmatists who are beginning to say, look, we can't get tax reform this year. The trade-offs are enormous. Maybe we focus on tax cuts. I think you're going to hear a lot more about that from an administration that is desperate for a victory.
I agree they want a victory. McMaster and Cohn, writing in the Wall Street Journal today, I believe they're the pragmatics crew. Is anyone listening in the White House to McMaster and Cohn, the globalists?
Well, Cohn for sure. Cohn has become an enormously powerful figure, especially as we see a shakeup, I think, intensifying over the next couple of weeks.
Well, within this, Greg, is the shakeup and all the gossip of Washington. We just covered this territory with Kevin Cirilli. Does the nation care about the Beltway dynamics?
No, I don't think so at all. In fact, I'm not even sure the nation cares all that much about the Russia story. It's a huge topic inside the Beltway and in New York, but I think the nation cares more about where the economy is headed. That's why I think tax cuts, not reform, tax cuts have a chance.
But, Greg, the nation cares about health care reform as well, and this is still a serious problem, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and I think an awful lot of Republicans have agreed privately to just put it on a shelf and come back to it at some point, a year from now. The votes simply are not there.
How do you get a compromise then?
Well, you don't on health care for quite some time. I do think on taxes you could get 50, 51 votes, which would be enough to get tax cuts through. I think even some Democrats might, if the tax cuts were constructed, to their advantage, I think even some Democrats would take a look at the bill.
Greg, when we look at Vice President Pence, where does he fit into all this? I'm hearing his name a lot in conversations. Is the Vice President distant from the White House, or is he part of the debate?
Well, there's a lot of rumors, Tom, that he may be leaving town for a while to do some campaigning to raise his profile. Look, it's still way too early to talk about impeachment. Down the road, a year from now, could we be talking about obstruction of justice? Maybe, but I frankly, being a cynic, think the Democrats are content to keep Trump in office. They think he's in way over his head. They'd be quite content to keep him there.